Right, how's it going, everybody? So today I'm doing a review of my Neighbours Hotpoint WML730. They're not actually here, and they've let me do a few washes in it, and I've recorded the whole things of Cotton's 90 and Fast Wash 60. So I'll be uploading them soon, hopefully. Um, but yeah, the reason is because the candy is actually broken. If you follow my Instagram, you'll know. But basically, the candy Grando Vita, it seems like the motor's gone. But luckily, we got insurance on it a few months ago anyway. So it'll be getting repaired in about a week. But until then, I've used this for a couple of washes. I've also used my Nana's machine, which is also a Candy Grando Vita. And so while I'm here, I thought I'd give you a little review of it. Obviously, I'm quite familiar with this. It's been a trip down memory lane using this because I had a WML540. This is an Aquarius Plus. I'm not sure if the Plus is because it's 7 kilos, because mine was 6 kilos. So down here, we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. Got the panel at the bottom. The filter is there. I can't be asked to take it out because it's a pain to put it back in, at least with one hand. But yeah, that's the filter. It's just a normal drain filter. I think the drain is there. The pump is there. I don't think the pump is at the back like on older Hotpoints, because this is a newer design. Speaking of newer design, this has got the Indesit drum. It is quite big. I've cleaned it out because it was really moldy, because they wash everything on Fast Wash 60 at 40, but the main reason it was moldy was because they shut the door after every wash. So it's still very stained, but the actual physical grime and dirt is non-existent. I can't get anything on my hands. It's completely clean now, and I think their clothes will start to be nicer. I mean, not that they weren't, but you know what I mean. So the drum is actually quite big. I'm not sure if it's the same as my old Hotpoint or if it is slightly bigger, because sometimes they'll say it's bigger, but it's not. But it does look a little bit bigger. When I first came in here, it seemed a bit small, but it makes sense to me now. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. There's all the model stuff. They do have the full model number in the manual over there. I'll go to that in a second. I'll show you that at the end, probably, or in the middle, whatever. So yes, the Indesit drum is relatively nice. The water comes down here, and it's a pretty good machine. I cleaned it out, but I didn't clean it out with bleach, which is why it's still stained, because they told me there was a leak somewhere, and they were right. There's a tiny little leak down here when it washes, and it seems to me when it spins. And the detergent housing kind of moves a bit, so I think there could be a little thing in the detergent housing that kind of is loose, and when it shakes, a bit of water leaks that's been sitting there. Who knows? So yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll show you the cycles now. I'll show you the drawer first. You've got the softener. This does absolutely nothing, and I'll talk about that in a second. And this is the main wash. This is for liquid detergent. It would come with the machine. You slot this in here, and then it would hold the liquid steady so it wouldn't all siphon out before you start the wash. That would be the pre-wash, and you can kind of use it as a pre-wash, because if you put it on a rinse only, it will fill through here. So you could use that as like a pre-rinse, but it doesn't really serve a purpose. It fills through there, and then it fills through the main wash, but it's kind of just a pointless compartment. I think it's there because at some point they were like, okay, well, if we need to add a pre-wash, we can just use this drawer layout. But I don't think any Hotpoints since this have used a pre-wash. I don't even think the Indesits, actually, they've got the sports cycle. They have the sports cycles and the shoes. So yeah, okay, Indesit did have a pre-wash, but not on any of the main cycles. But yeah, they haven't used this. They still go with this drawer layout, which is a really good drawer. But and I love how it swivels out. It's really good. But it just seems a bit pointless to have that. But it's not too bad not having a pre-wash. And now we will get to the cycles. Oh yes, they all flash. And I'll go through it all in detail. So we've got 16 programs, 13 full programs, and 3 partials. I'll go through the options first, and then I'll go through the programs. So We've got Superwash, which adds water to the main wash and adds time. I think on some models it will add an extra rinse as well, but not on this one. Extra rinse adds an extra rinse. Mini load. It says in the manual 3 kilos, but it's actually locks it to 1 kilo, so it's lowest possible. So the lowest possible amount of time it can wash for. And also it locks the rinses at a really low time fill. So that's why I don't use it. I think on some of these it's slightly different, but on this one it's the same as my old Hotpoint, where it just doesn't use much water. So I wouldn't use it. And reduced creases, because it has automatic half load anyway. Reduced creases cuts the spin to 600 on all programs, including Cottons. It does a slower spin throughout the cycle as well. I don't know why the camera's flickering like that. Why the hell is it flickering? But anyway, yeah. It does slower spins throughout the wash cycle. So the interns are, I think, only 400. I think it may add an extra rinse, but same with Super Wash. I'm not sure. But in theory, on some of these machines, you could end up doing 5 rinses on a cotton cycle with a high water level. And on baby cycle shirts, lingerie, and silk, it does 3 rinses anyway. And on wool, it does 4. So in theory, you could have even more than 5 rinses, but I'm not fully sure on that. It also does an intensified main wash action with reduced creases and slower rinse action. And it does I think it does constant anti-crease at the end, and then you actually have to stop it. And on lingerie and silk, it does a rinse hold. So that's all the options. We'll get into the cycles now. I mean, we'll get into the temperature, but number 1 is Cottons Plus 90, 60, 40. It's called Cottons Plus because at 60 and 40, you get your Cotton standard programs. And what this means is it will do the standard energy rating cycles. So where that's meant for dirtier, well, normally soiled laundry, but the idea is you can washing that you'd want to do at 90, and if you set it to 60 on number 1, it will heat slightly below 60, even though it does anyway, because it's an energy saving machine like most of them are nowadays. It will wash for longer, and then in theory it gives you the same result as a 90 wash, but at 60. And then 40 supposedly gives you a 60-degree wash result. This is at number 1, I should be clear about. And obviously we go through the temperatures. We got off, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And, well, yeah, off, I just said that. 90 is around about 74 degrees on these machines. I recently discovered the other day when I was doing the maintenance wash. And then we got spin speeds 1300, 1200, 1000, 800, 600, 500, 400, and off. And then the light goes out when it's off. So we got number 1 is Cottons Plus. Number 2 is Cotton 60 at 60 degrees. And this will take about 2 hours. And obviously max spin 1300. Internal spins on Cottons are 600 after the wash and 800 after the rinses, and it does 2 rinses by default. Number 3 is Coloreds 40, and this is your normal medium to short length cotton colored cycle at 40 degrees. It's a bit over an hour, about 85 minutes. Number 4 is Synthetics at 50. This cycle only spins at 800 RPM, and it's about 80 minutes, 50 degrees. And internal spin is at 600 RPM. Final spin is 800, and it's obviously for mixed fabrics and synthetic materials. Number 5 is Fast Wash 60. You can see mini load and super wash go off because this is made for a half load, but you can wash a full load on it. It doesn't make a difference. It's actually longer than an hour because it does the full final cotton spin at the end, and it does. So it ends up being longer than an hour, but it's still a good cycle nonetheless. You can have extra rinse and reduced creases, and it's at 60 degrees. And apart from a weird sensing phase at the start of the wash, it's basically just a cotton cycle, but a bit shorter. You can probably wash anything on this. Number 6 is baby cycle. This is for washing baby clothes, but my one gripe with it is it only goes up to 40 degrees. It doesn't say here, but it does hold it, and I think it is a real 40 degrees. It uses a lot of water in the main wash, does 3 rinses, and you can't have reduced creases because it's kind of already a reduced creases cycle anyway. It does constant anti-crease at the end. It also does a soaking phase during the main wash. So it's quite a good cycle actually. I barely used it on my old Hotpoint, partly because I was scared of the high water levels, funnily enough. And Superwash will obviously just increase the time. I've already explained the options. Number 7 is shirts. And it's cool that if you have the options on from previously, if they go off halfway through, they'll come back on. You don't have to reselect them when scrolling through. Number 7 is shirts at 40. This cycle is just over an hour. Baby cycle is about 2 hours. It's made for washing with shirts, but you can wash anything on this. It uses quite a high water level depending on the load size and the options selected, but the level is very high. It uses fast tumbles, so it's kind of like an enhanced, an extra reduced creases cottons with reduced creases cycle almost, or synthetics with reduced creases, but it uses a very high water level on the main wash. I like this cycle. I think it's quite cool. It's not too long and it does a really intensive main wash. So yeah, same with baby cycle, but I wish baby cycle was at 60 so you can have a really intensive 60 wash. And I should also add, baby cycle is at 800 RPM. It's a synthetic cycle. Shirts is a reduced creases cycle, so it's at 600 RPM. Number 8 is lingerie cycle, and shirts and baby cycle, as I said, they do 3 rinses instead of 2 on all the previous cycles. So I'm kind of curious why reduced creases is an option on shirts, but maybe it does a rinse hold. I don't think it does though. Number 8 is lingerie cycle. This has kind of been forgotten to time, but it washes at 30 degrees. It's a bit over an hour, and it starts off, it fills up, it does really slow tumbles, and then once it's finished heating to 30, it does really fast tumbles. I think it actually does intern spins, and it has a final spin of 600 RPM, and it's generally, I think of this as a delicate cycle, but I wish it would go up to 40, but I guess you've already got the shirt cycle, which is pretty damn similar, especially with mini load, because then it'll reduce the water level to around here, where it is on the lingerie cycle. You can't have superwash because it's a delicate cycle. Number 9 is wool at 40. You can... it basically does the distribution wool action, so it's like which is why it has the platinum mark. So the idea is that the clothes stay stuck to the drum and they don't bobble around. The cycle is pretty good, but it can be imperfect sometimes because you can have stuff just bobble around, and you can also have stuff just not get washed that well because there isn't enough water. But overall, it's quite a good cycle. It spins at 600. It does 4 rinses because of how sudsy it can get. And I think it does intern spins as well, but it spins at 600, which I would have preferred 800, and I would have preferred maybe 1,000 on the baby cycle, which they eventually did do. So yeah, number 10 is silk at 30, also known as curtains and also known as delicates. This does no spin, only at 30 degrees. It does 3 very high level rinses, very high level wash, slow action. This is like what traditionally you would think of as the wool cycle. This is the kind of like the hand wash cycle. So it does very slow tumbles. So you could use this for washing stuff like silk, stuff like wool, to be honest, but you might as well use wool for that. It does no spin at the end, reduced creases, adds a rinse hold. You can't have superwash for obvious reasons. And obviously, I'll go through these icons for you now. So you got wash. Well, hold on. As you can probably guess. Wait, is that going to focus? Yeah, got wash, rinse, spin, drain or pump out, but it comes on during the anti-crease phase as well, and then end, and that is the door lock. The door lock is also instant unlock on these, which is great, and I'll show you. And I'll show you if I put it on a drain. Brilliant, instant. So yeah, that's better than a lot of machines now. Probably, I'm not sure if the Hotpoints still do that. Anyway, we're not even finished on the cycles, so I'm getting ahead of myself. 11, 12, and 13 are the eco cycles, and this was a big push at the time to get people to use, cooler wash cycles with liquid detergent, and the cycles are basically intensive cold washes. But funnily enough, with all this mold, they weren't using the eco cycles, which is good. They're cool. They're good cycles, but I don't think they're necessarily needed on this. They're not even 20 degrees. They are just tap water cold. And obviously you can wash some stuff on cold, but most stuff you don't want to wash heavily soiled clothes on a cold wash, or even normally soiled, to be honest. Yeah, definitely not. So cotton's eco is a normal cotton cycle, most comparable to the Coloureds 40 cycle, but it basically does intensified wash action and distribution tumbles, and fills up slightly more, kind of like a superwash level. So you can't have the superwash button. You can't have mini load because it's made for a smaller load for some reason, but you can just put a full load in, it'll be fine. And it's the same as Cotton's, apart from that. It's about 85 minutes, so same as the Colored cycle. Synthetics is a cold version of Synthetics 50, but it does distribution tumbles as well and intensified wash action at cold. And 13 is Fast Wash Eco or Fast Wash 30, because the 30-minute fast wash on this is the Fast Wash Eco, so it's cold and not 30 degrees. But overall, it's not too bad, especially when the lengths of the cycles are adjusted by the overall wash time. So, like Fast Wash 60 at 40 degrees is shorter than 60 minutes. One thing I just note, this and synthetics, Fast Wash 30 is a synthetic cycle, not a Cotton's one. So it spins at 800 RPM and does slow rinses, but they are quite short. It does 2 rinses. Can't have any options on this cycle. It's the only cycle on the machine, I believe. Hey, hang on a minute. Okay, well, you can't have options on spin and drain either, but it's quite funny. You can have almost all of them on rinse. Also, one thing I just noticed is look here, it's literally identical. They're copying this section of the dial here. So that's quite a cool little thing. So yeah, rinse is 2 rinses. Obviously you can adjust it with the options. Reduce creases will make it delicate rinses because it will do slow tumbles. Final spin, the spin only is a cotton spin. You can see the lights illuminating of what parts of the wash it will do. If you cancel out the spin, it will do that. If you put it on a spin only with no spin, it will just drain. But it will distribute. That's one problem this machine has, is the spinning doesn't take any time off. If you set it to no spin, it will just distribute for the whole spin, and then it will stop, and then it will do whatever thing it has to do next. So it won't adjust the time, which is kind of annoying. But it is a cotton spin. And then C is pump out. But to be honest, actually, no, I was going to say it's pointless, but I just correctly stated that spin doesn't do a pump out on its own. It does distribution. So on pump out, this will just drain the water. It won't do any tumbling. It will just drain the water. It's about 2 minutes, but obviously if the machine is full up with water, it will just drain until all the water's out, and then it will end. So yeah, I don't think this cycle actually works if the water is too hot, because I was doing some messing around with the maintenance wash. Like, I filled it up I put it on 90 wash, added some water in the drawer, and put it on a wool cycle, used a tiny bit of water, then sensed it had enough and distributed to clean it out. But then when I tried to drain it, I had to put it on a rinse to fill it up some more to cool down the water because it wouldn't let me drain. So that's a fun little detail. That is kind of everything about the machine. Obviously, the Ecotech is reference to the eco cycles. These machines would have been made, well, on the back of this manual, it says September 2010. They registered the warranty 13th of July 2012. Man, that's making me nostalgic. And there is the model number and the serial number, in case you were wondering. I will actually show you. Look, so here is the wash cycles. The times are abbreviated. It's slightly different to mine, and some of them are longer, but I actually think some of these are inaccurate. Like, it did not take 160 minutes to do the 90 wash I did the other day, but it probably wasn't far off. And fast wash 60 is longer than 60 minutes. Everything else is generally pretty right. And yeah, you've got there the test washes, the eco cycles. There's your maximum spins, your options, what they do. Setting the spin speed, setting the temperature, and a detergent dispenser drawer. It just tells you not to use that compartment, which is quite funny. And also, these are descriptions of the special cycles, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I thought I'd show you that. It's cool they kept the manual. So overall, pretty good machine. I quite like it. I think it's quite cool. I've enjoyed using it over these past few days. And if I do have space for a big washing machine collection at some point, then I definitely will get a Hotpoint from this era. Maybe a WML something, maybe something else. I don't know. But I do like these machines. They're probably like the last range of machines I like before things just get too modern for me. And I like, because I have an era of machines that I'm into, and early to mid 2010s, that's kind of where I draw the line. I don't really care for machines after that. They're cool. Like, one of my machines is that, my Candy Grando. But overall, these are probably the last sort of machines that I really, really like. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Quite a cool machine. Also, I'm pretty sure the newer models had that as like an actual light, or maybe it was like a little outline that physically came out. Who knows? So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like and subscribe. I got videos of this machine coming. Hopefully videos of the Candy Aqua at my dad's, the CN120, when I can fix it on my editing software. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. And goodbye.